8 Premier League stars who returned to their clubs as bosses, and how they fared. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't the first Premier League legend to fail as the manager of his former club, and he certainly won't be the last. The Norwegian was sacked by Manchester United following a dreadful run of form that saw the Red Devils lose 7 of their last 13 matches under him, culminating in that humiliating 4-1 defeat to Watford. Appointing a club hero as manager is proving an increasingly popular trend in the world of football, but things don't always go quite to plan, as Solskjaer has proved. Daily Star Sport takes a closer look at 8 Premier League's legends who have gone back to their former clubs, starting with the baby-faced assassin himself. Solskjaer first, who'd have though it? The sacked Norwegian spent 11 years as player with United from 1996 to 2007, scoring 126 times in 366 appearances. The former striker earned cult hero status with supporters after flicking in the dramatic last-gasp Champions League winner against Bayern Munich as United bagged an historic 1999 treble. After hanging up his boots in 2007, Solskjaer earned his managerial spurs via United's reserves, Cardiff and 2 spells with Molde, before returning to Old Trafford as manager in December 2018. He was given the job on a permanent basis the following March, having won 14 of his 19 matches, but despite being credited with restoring the club's culture, he couldn't deliver success on the pitch. Defeat in last season's Europa League final to Villarreal had many people asking whether he was still the right man to take the club forward, and after a poor start to the 2021-22 season, he was finally sacked. Has a former player returned to manager your club? Let us know in the comments section below. Frank Lampard is widely regarded as one of Chelsea's greatest players of all time and a Premier League legend thanks to 13 trophy-filled seasons at Stamford Bridge. Ironically, the former midfielder also won 13 trophies during his time as a player in West London, including the Champions League, as well as becoming the club's all-time record goalscorer with 211 strikes. After turning heads as Derby manager, Lampard took over the reins at his old club when he replaced Italian Maurizio Sarri in 2019. Given the unenviable task of qualifying for the Champions League despite operating under a transfer embargo, the legendary star achieved his aim and guided the Blues to an FA Cup final. Chelsea started Lampard's second season in charge strongly before 2 wins in 8 Premier League matches put the squeeze on and saw him get the sack as Thomas Tuchel entered to salvage the campaign. So far so good for Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, sort of. The cultured Spanish midfielder spent 5 seasons as a player in North London before returning as manager in 2019 following the sacking of Unai Emery. A surprise FA Cup final win over old tutor Pep Guardiola and Manchester City in 2020 secured the Gunners a trophy in his first season in charge, a result that was followed up by success in the Community Shield. Last season didn't go quite as well for the 39-year-old boss as Arsenal missed out on Europe for the first time in 25 years, sparking suggestions he might not be the right man to take the club forward. 3 defeats in the opening 3 matches of the current campaign, including a 5-0 mauling at Manchester City, did little to quieten the doubters, especially after a £145 million outlay in the summer. But an impressive unbeaten run followed, and Arteta's job is now seen as safe once more with the club seemingly heading in the right direction under the Spaniard. Cut Alan Shearer open, and he'd bleed black and white. The 51-year-old is a Newcastle United legend after netting 206 goals in 405 appearances during a 10-year stint with his hometown club before retiring in 2006. Unfortunately, his brief spell in charge of the Magpies wasn't quite as successful. With the Toon Army facing the prospect of Premier League relegation in 2009, Shearer stepped up to plate by taking the manager's job on a temporary basis for the final 8 games of the season. United's famous no-point 9 couldn't inspire a great escape in the northeast, and relegation was confirmed courtesy of a 1-0 defeat to Aston Villa on the final day of the season. Shearer hasn't ventured back into the dugout since. It's fair to say Tim Sherwood's spell as Tottenham Hotspur manager was a bit more eventful than his 118-game stint as a player for the North London club. Promoted to the top job at White Hart Lane following the dismissal of Andre Villas-Boas, Sherwood's tenure began with a 2-1 defeat to West Ham in the League Cup. Things wouldn't get much better for the former Blackburn and Norwich star, who is perhaps best remembered for allowing a fan to sit in the dugout during his final match in charge. Sherwood lasted just 28 games as Tottenham manager, winning half. Roberto Di Matteo turned out 175 times for Chelsea as a player between 1996 and 2002, before hanging up his boots at the age of just 31 following a serious injury. He rejoined the Stamford Bridge coaching staff alongside Andre Villas-Boas for the 2011-12 and was soon promoted to interim boss after AVB's dismissal in March of the same season. The decision proved an inspired one as Di Matteo guided Chelsea to a shock double success in both the FA Cup and the Champions League before being given the sack just months later. Slaven Bilic only made 54 appearances for West Ham as a player but was welcomed back with open arms after being appointed as manager in 2015. The Croatian's time in charge couldn't have started any better, with a hat-trick of away victories, wins over Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City setting the tone for a hugely successful first season in East London. Buoyed by the talents of Dimitri Payet, the Hammers finished 7th in the Premier League and ended their final season at Upton Park with a memorable 3-2 win over Manchester United. The following season brought a disappointing Europa League exit to Astra Giurgiu and an 11th-placed finish in league as Bilic's reign threatened to unravel following the sale of Payet. Sure enough, things didn't improve, and a poor run of form at the start of the 2017-18 season saw Bilic dismissed after 111 games in charge. Italian maestro Gianluca Vialli joined Chelsea in the summer of 1996 as part of Ruud Gullit's rebuilding project. Little did Gullit know that the man he signed would go on to replace him in dugout. The Dutchman was sacked in February 1998, which allowed a 33-year-old Vialli to become player-manager and the first Italian to manage in the Premier League. Vialli enjoyed plenty of good times in charge of the Blues, including a European Super Cup win over Real Madrid and an FA Cup success against Aston Villa in 2000. Despite clearly improving the club's fortunes, the former Juventus man received his marching orders 5 games into the 2000-2001 season after a poor start and having fallen out with several key players.